Good morning, students. So, in the previous lecture, we discussed how the Grammar-Rao inequality plays an important role in the variance of unbiased estimator of a parametric function. But it does not provide us any method to construct such a estimator. So Rao-Blackwell theorem gives us a way to create an unbiased estimator with lesser variance using the available unbiased estimator and the minimal sufficient statistic. So suppose you have you are interested in estimating a parametric function, say psi theta, and now you have a minimal sufficient statistic for theta and you have an unbiased estimator for psi theta. So these two estimators can be used together to construct a better unbiased estimator for psi theta. So how it can be done? Let us see how is it done and how Rao-Blackwell theorem is important in this. So suppose Lx theta is a family of distributions where theta is real valued and it is such that it admits a, so this is such that it has a sufficient statistic T with PDF or PMF like this, and now we are interested in estimating psi theta. So the first step towards constructing a better estimator is identify an unbiased estimator of psi theta, say T1, and then compute then the second step involves computation of conditional expectation of the unbiased estimator given the minimal sufficient statistic of theta. So clearly this will be, since T is a sufficient statistic, so the distribution of T1 given T will be independent of theta and it will be a function of T alone. So it can be treated as a statistic, and so this expectation is again going to be independent of theta, and so this will be a function of T alone. So we uh, call it as, say, phi1t. So phi1t is a statistic since T is a sufficient statistic. So this we have already discussed. So if these two steps are followed, then phi1t is unbiased estimator of psi theta. Means phi1t belongs to U psi, the class of unbiased estimator of psi theta, and means this expectation of phi1t will be psi theta for every theta in the parameter space, and variance of this newly constructed estimator is less than or equal to the variance of the earlier unbiased estimator, that is T1, for every theta in the parameter space. So this is how we get a better estimator. Better in the sense variance of the new estimator is lesser than the variance of the earlier estimator. So let us try to quickly prove this. Okay, let us first see how does it happen or does it actually work. So let us consider one example, and it's really interesting to see how things change as you construct this or as you follow this process. Many times this process is called as Rao-Blackwellization. So we will be calling this as Rao-Blackwellization. So to understand it better, let us consider this example. So suppose you have three observations from normal distribution with mean theta and variance 1. So suppose T1 is constructed like this. It's again a two-dimensional statistic with the first element x1 and the second element x2 plus x3. Then T2 is has first element x2 and second element as x1 plus x3, and similarly T3 is defined like this. So now if you use factorization theorem, you can easily prove that all these T1, T2, T3, they are sufficient statistic for theta. So we have got three sufficient statistics for theta. Now let us consider an unbiased estimator. So x1 is unbiased estimator of theta. So let us try to follow this procedure, Rao-Blackwell theorem. So we will have to consider the expectation of unbiased estimator given the minimal sufficient statistic. So I am considering x1 only, as the unbiased estimator of theta. Then expectation of x1 given t1. Now notice that t1 contains uh, x. See, the first element of t1 is x1 and the second element is x2 plus x3, and x1, x2, x3 are independent random variables. So the first element is independent of the second. So when you consider expectation of x1 given t1 equal to t1, these values do not play any role, since x2 plus x3 is going to be independent of x1, and so the expectation will be simply x1. You can actually try to prove this. Similarly, expectation of x1 given t2 is going to be x1 plus x3 by 2. So how to prove this? I'll tell you a procedure, but the procedure has to be followed by you. You have joint distribution of what we need is, we want conditional distribution of x1 given these given t2, means x1 given x2 and x1 plus x3. Now to find this conditional distribution, we first need joint distribution of x1, x2 and x1 plus x3, these three variables. So first consider the joint distribution of x1, x2, x3. Then using it, find the joint distribution of x1, x2 and x1 plus x3, and then find the joint distribution of t2 only by integrating out x1, and then try to find the conditional expectation. So there are multiple steps involved, but I have done this for this uh, conditional distribution. I have followed this procedure, and you actually get normal distribution for x1, conditional distribution as normal distribution. So this expectation you get as x1 plus x3 by 2. So try to follow the same procedure for x1 given t3 also. I hope you have understood the procedure. So if you follow these two procedures, means basically you have to find the conditional distribution of x1 given t2, and here you have to find the conditional distribution of x1 given t3. Once the distribution is found, expectation computation is simple. So what you notice is that, see, this is how the conditional expectation is changing. Earlier it was simply x1, then it became x1 plus x3 by 2, then it became x1 plus x2 by 2, and now if you take, say, another statistic t4, say x1 plus x2 plus x3, then you know this is minimal sufficient for normal theta 1. Then expectation of x1 given this is x1 plus x2 plus x3 by 3. So notice that variance of x1 is 1. Variance of x1 plus x3 by 2 will be 1 by 1 half. Means yes, because it is average of the two. Similarly, variance of x1 plus x2 by 2 will be 1 half. Variance of x1 plus x2 plus x3 by 3 will be 1 by 9, and so on. Means you can notice that the variance goes on decreasing as you take better estimator. So variance of u4 is least among u1, u2, u3, u4, and the maximum possible reduction in variance is due to conditioning on minimal sufficient statistic. So when you condition on minimal sufficient statistic, the greatest possible reduction in the variance occurs. So this you can understand from this example. So what can be done is, instead of using the sufficient statistic, only one can use, in the procedure which we have stated earlier, one can use minimal sufficient statistic. So here is the summary. So thus the theorem implies that the search for the minimum variance unbiased estimator of psi theta, means we are looking for an unbiased estimator of psi theta which has minimum possible variance. So it can be restricted to those elements of u psi which depend on x, the sample, only through the minimal sufficient statistic. Means in short, we should try to find the minimum variance unbiased estimator of psi theta in the set of functions of the minimal sufficient statistic, that is m. So if m is the minimal sufficient statistic, then we should try to find an unbiased estimator of m and a function of m which is unbiased for psi theta. So instead of using only any sufficient statistic in the Black-Willisation, we should use minimal sufficient statistic so that we will get the best possible unbiased estimator. Best possible in the sense unbiased estimator with least variance. So here is the statement of the theorem. So instead of, it is same as the one which we have discussed before. Instead of only sufficient statistic, now we are taking minimal sufficient statistic. So we have a family of distributions where minimal sufficient statistic exists and it is denoted by m. Minimal sufficient statistic for theta. And we have an estimable parametric function psi theta. So in short, u psi is non-empty. Then we have we take one unbiased estimator of psi theta and we construct the another unbiased estimator by considering the conditional expectation of unbiased estimator with respect to the minimal sufficient statistic. Then what we get is the newly constructed estimator is also unbiased for psi theta and it has variance lesser than the previous unbiased estimator of psi theta. This, don't forget this. This is also important. This variance will depend on theta. It may depend on theta, it may not depend on theta. So when variance depends on theta, this inequality should be true for all such values of theta. And so for this is important that this variance should be lesser for every theta in the parameter space. So let us try to prove this theorem quickly now. So since we are going to need the conditional distribution, so let us first focus on the constructing the conditional distribution. Now the conditional distribution of T1 given M is free from theta due to the sufficiency of M. So the joint PDF of T1 and M can be written as, so because it is free from theta, so how can you write now joint PDF? Joint PDF you can write as conditional into marginal. And so the joint PDF of T1 and M is the marginal conditional distribution of T1 given M. I have denoted it by G1 and it is now free from theta because M is basically minimal sufficient, so it is sufficient also. And so this distribution will be free from theta. Then this is the marginal distribution of M which will depend on theta. So this is how the joint PDF will be for every theta in the parameter space. And now, so its expectation. So the conditional distribution. Now the statistic which we are, or the estimator which we are proposing is phi1m, which is conditional expectation of T1 given M. So it will be basically integration of T1 in case of continuous. In case of discrete it will be summation. So in case of continuous, this will be T1 into the conditional PDF of T1 given M. Now, so let us try to simplify this. So this conditional again, so if you consider expectation of this random variable phi1m, what we try to prove is that phi1m belongs to u psi. Means if you consider expectation of phi1m, it is equal to psi theta for every theta in the parameter space. So using the first we are considering the phi1m and now we are considering its expectation. But phi1m itself is conditional expectation. So it will be like expectation of conditional expectation. So what is happening here in phi1m is expectation of conditional expectation of T1 given M. Now this is nothing but expectation of T1, isn't it? And so expectation of T1 is psi theta. So you are bound to get this to be equal to psi theta. So see how is it done. So it is double. So you are going to take its expectation. So I have substituted the expression of phi1m and now I am going to take its expectation with respect to the distribution of M. So it will be integration over M g naught M theta dm. Now this G1 T1 given M, this you can adjust it like this, and so what do you get is double integration over Tm and T1 G T1 M theta dt1 dm. So this is basically expectation of T1 which is psi theta, and so since T1 is unbiased estimator, so expectation of Phi1m is unbiased, Phi1m is psi theta, and so Phi1m is unbiased estimator of psi theta. Now secondly, what we have to prove is that variance of Phi1m is less than or equal to variance of T1. So let us first consider variance of T1. So variance of T1 is uh, expectation of T1 minus psi theta whole square. So I am now considering double integration. See, either you can write this T1 minus psi theta whole square marginal distribution of T1, but marginal distribution of T1 is not available to us. So what we do is we consider the joint distribution and we integrate out the unwanted random variable, which is m. So the variance of T1 can be written like this: T1 minus psi theta whole square g T1 m theta dt1 dm. So I hope you understand this step. So if you simplify this, now the joint is PDF is nothing but the conditional PDF into the marginal PDF, and here I am adding and subtracting Phi1m so that we will ultimately get variance of Phi1m in this calculation. So now this will be the, let us consider this as the first term, this as the second term. Then the whole square will be the square of the first term plus the square of the second term plus 2 times the product term. So accordingly I have considered these three integrals here, where the first integration is double integration of T1 minus Phi1m whole square. Then the second one is double integration of Phi1 minus psi theta, means the second term square whole square, and the third will be the product term, which is 2 times this. Now let us try to simplify all of these I1, I2, I3 one by one. So if you consider I1, it's double integration T1 minus Phi1m whole square. Now uh, after a rearrangement, you can consider first integration over T1 minus Phi1m whole square, and then the conditional distribution of T1 given m dt1, and then this you can keep aside. So now this, what we are doing here is T1, we are subtracting Phi1m from T1, but basically Phi1m is conditional expectation of T1 given m, and now you are considering its square and you are integrating over the range of T1 with respect to the conditional PDF of T1 given m. So consider one by one all these things together. So it's like I am subtracting conditional expectation of T1, then I am taking the square, and then I am considering integration with respect to the conditional PDF. So what I will get is the conditional variance of T1. So this integration, this term will be basically conditional variance of T1 given m. So I hope you have understood this. Then so I1 will be conditional variance of T1 given m g naught m theta d theta integration over m. So now you are having a quantity which is purely function of m. You are integrating it with respect to the PDF of m over m. So you are basically getting expectation of this quantity with respect to m. So what you get is expectation of variance of T1 given m. So the first quantity is expectation of variance of T1 given m. Now similarly I2, if you focus on I2, it is Phi1m minus psi theta whole square g T1 given m g naught. So it is like this. So again rearrange it. What do you get is, now this is basically joint PDF. Now I am going back to the form of joint PDF. So what do you have here is your Phi1m minus psi theta. Now note that psi theta is expectation of Phi1m. You are considering it square and you are integrating over the joint PDF. So what you will get basically is variance of Phi1m. Why? Because psi theta is expectation of Phi1m. So this second I2 is variance of Phi1m. Similarly I3, now let us consider I3. So now you can separate them like this. First let us Phi1m minus psi theta over m. and T1 minus Im over T1, G T1 given M, D T1, this you can consider, and G naught M dm you can keep it outside the integration of T1. So what do you get is, now Phi1 M is a conditional expectation of T1 given M. Consider this. So Phi1 M is basically conditional expectation. So what you will get, what you are bound to get is, see, this is integration over T1, G T1, G1, T1 given M. So you are integrating T1 with respect to the conditional PDF. So you are going to get conditional expectation of T1 given M. And here Phi1M, you will bring it outside the integration, and this being a conditional PDF, it will be 1. So this will be simply Phi1M. So notice that this is a random variable, this is a random variable. But if you fix one value of M, then it's like I am getting observed, I am getting a real value here and a real value here. So both are going to cancel out each other every time. So every time you fix M, means you take one possible value of M, you are going to get this as 0. So even though the difference is basically a random variable, it is always going to be 0. And so I3 itself, sorry, not I2 but I3 itself will be 0. And so as a result, variance of T1 will be I1 plus I2 only. So which is expectation of variance of T1 given M plus variance of Phi1M. So now this term, this expectation of variance, now variance itself, variance of T1 given M is going to be either 0 or greater than 0. And so as a result, its expectation will also be greater than or equal to 0. This result you might have learned when you learned probability distributions last semester. So this expectation as a result is going to be greater than or equal to 0, and so the variance of T1 will be greater than or equal to variance of Phi1M. So this is how we get the result. Now when they will be equal, can they be equal? So they will be equal when this term itself is 0. So the expectation will be 0. But when the variance of T1 given M will be 0, so the variance, if T1 is a degenerate random variable, then its variance will be 0. But degenerate where? So degenerate at its expectation. So what is the expectation of T1 given M? But expectation of T1 given M is Phi1 of M itself. So if T1 is degenerate at this point, means T1 takes this value with probability 1, then the variance will be, then the conditional variance will be 0. But when T1 takes this value, P1M with probability 1 means that T1 is already a function of M. So when T1 is already a function of M, you will have variance of T1 equal to variance of P1M. So this is how the Rao-Blackwell theorem works. This is how it can be proved. So Rao-Blackwell theorem gives us a way to construct a better unbiased estimator. So now let us try to implement it through some examples. So let us consider these examples in the next lecture.